for Dublin 15.
Okay, everybody, it is Monday if you're listening to this on Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you're not, welcome to our first live stream of 2017 here on YouTube, WViDesk 2016. Of course, the Rest of You International Desk here on Rest of You WViDesk /site at firebase.com. My name is Darragh O'Connor and I'm joined by Mr. Dave Stevens. How are things, Dave?
Things are good. Things are good.
It's been a long time since you've been on wrestling radio. You're kind of like me, but longer, I think.
I was looking it up yesterday, and I think it's been 4 years.
Wow. 4 years, it's like, for me, I just kind of took about 6 months away. 4 years. So, for anyone who doesn't know, for new listeners, anyone join us live or whatever, guys, we will be taking calls, just not yet. If you want to add me on Skype, it's WViDesk /2016. And you should be able to find us there on Skype. But what made you walk away, Dave? Was it just the closure of the Rest of You VIP area? Because of course you had your show there, the Teachers Lounge, and you were covering Raw. What led to you walking away from wrestling media?
There's a lot going on in my life, and I think when I look back at it now, I just realized it was the wrong time to be doing it.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily on top of my game every week, and then things have gotten repetitive. I've been doing it for about 5 years with the main shows and such at that point.
Yeah.
And so I had no problem whatsoever with the decision, and it was one that had been several months, if not a year, in the making. So, but the wrestling product itself, I would say since the draft is really when I've found myself drifting away. I was trying to find what was that moment when things started to slip. And I think that was it for me.
And this was the draft, what, 4 years ago was 2013. So was it just the state of, Raw stealing all the talent? Was it just how boring and repetitive things got? Or was it just a combination of different things?
I'd said from the instant that it was announced that this is very short-sighted, and in the long run, I don't think this is good for the company. And I make no, I'm not going to try and disguise the fact that I'm a fanboy for certain wrestlers, and AJ Styles certainly is one of them. And the guy just turned 40, last week or the week before. He only has so many years left where he's able to wrestle. And I don't like the fact that the brand split keeps certain guys from wrestling other guys. There might be a dream match where they're on the same, WWE umbrella roster, but we're never going to get to see live just simply because of time and where people are in their career.
True. But, it's... A lot of people would say the same thing with NXT, where you had... and we're starting to feel it now. Now, I know you're not actively watching the product, and we will get to that in a few minutes, but a lot of people now are complaining that NXT, while we got to enjoy a phenomenal product for a couple of years, the actual result of certain policies in the WWE made the product very, very hard to sit through, and a lot of time was wasted in NXT for guys like Bobby Roode's still there, but Finn Balor's thrown up a lot, where if he had been brought in sooner, maybe he would have been more unique or used better, or maybe not even injured. It's just it's a constant stream of problems here that, while we got arguably some of the most interesting experiences on that NXT brand before it was kind of raided and they all went up to the main roster, was that time used effectively? And I find it hard to say if it was or not.
No, I think early NXT also was very, very different than current NXT. Early NXT was your grungy indie band, if you will, in terms of there were certain fans that watched that product and they liked the fact that people didn't really know who the stars were. It's like their own little secret club. And for as much amazing things as Triple H has done with NXT, one of the downsides of him being a physical presence there is that it's kind of elevated NXT to a level where it's not underground. It's not people fighting for the main roster.
Yeah.
It's we kind of want to create another brand that we can tour with to make money. And so you can just see how the booking had changed once they got that mentality and they saw how successful the brand could be.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the overall atmosphere of NXT now, where it's less of I said an indie kind of band. That's what it felt like. There was a real buzz about it. Unlike anything else, it was kind of like if Ring of Honor went to the mainstream. It kind of had that bit of a buzz where it was very very different. But I mean, effectively, when it was announced that you're going to have Sami Zayn, you're going to have Kevin Owens, you're going to have a lot of these guys coming in who have never been in a mainstream promotion working. would it
Right.
would have
Right.
been would have been better for those guys to go straight up to the main roster, and work that kind of style instead of Sami Zayn was, I think it was 2 years in NXT before he went up to Raw. And like it feels, and there is that undercurrent with a lot of wrestling fans now, that while they like what's there, either it's not the same thing, which is a lot of people are saying that about Nakamura now. It's like that's not New Japan Nakamura. It's not even NXT Nakamura. It's someone who's connecting to an extent with the mainstream main product, but isn't, or is just kind
Mhm.
of floating. Which is like, I would say Sami Zayn is like the definition of someone who's just floating in the WWE right now.
Yeah, Sammy's definitely become that Dolph Ziggler type of character where they know they can put him out there against anybody and he can make a match look good.
Mm.
And it's kind of it's kind of like being a character actor in movies and TV, and people get to know you for that. Like, you're such a great auxiliary player. You make other people in the scenes with you pop. Sammy makes other people in the ring with him pop. But because of that, he's utilized to elevate other people, and he himself doesn't necessarily get to that next level. But I mean, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. When I love, don't get me wrong, I love Sami Zayn, but he's not really a world champion in my head, at least not right now.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this, how he's being utilized.
No, I'd agree. I'd say that, like, for me, I'm not a huge Sami Zayn fan anyway, but there is I like what as you said, he's a Dolph Ziggler. He's a much better worker than Dolph Ziggler, but you can just see going back, um where the wheels kind of fell off for a lot of people. It was after a couple of years, where you had like people complaining about John Cena. I was one of them complaining about John Cena for years, saying that he, something different, and then we got something different, but it
Mm-hmm.
still didn't work. And
No, well,
there's that kind of fall off where throughout times in wrestling, recently, maybe from after the Attitude Era, from 2000 2002, let's say, you had slow decline, and it seems like 3 to 4 years ago to now was that other kind of decline, because we don't have John Cena on top of the card now. We have a lot of
mm.
these former Ring of Honor TNA guys in WWE like AJ Styles, and there's still that kind of decline. There's still that kind of apathy, and I don't understand where's that coming from.
And that's what I've been trying to figure out myself. And I was having a conversation with my brother about it earlier because he's younger, so I like to get his perspective on wrestling. And he's
Hmm.
kind of the same way as me. The past 6 months, we've pretty much only watched pay-per-views. He really hasn't even watched many unless I've shown him like an AJ match, from him. It's just there's something that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what it's lacking. I mean, the guys are people I want to see wrestle. I read something online. I can't remember where it was. So, who knows what the validity of the article was or whatever. But they were talking about the fact that the WWE really, right now, it's always been rumored, but really right now is only focused on, what's happening today and next week. They
Right.
don't have long-term plans. They don't have long-term angles and feuds. So they're not keeping us invested each week. It's how can we get a little pop so we can be number one trending on Twitter, not how can we grow our fan base and get them invested into this match?
And that's what it feels like. It feels like there is no end game booking with the WWE. There's no we're going to get here. How do let's work back. It's kind of just like let's do this and let's do this and maybe this will work. It's not. People are say what you want about Impact Wrestling, but when I was talking with Adam last week, there seems to be a plan. They seem to know where they're going. No, that's an overwhelmingly negative plan where they're kind of like, yeah, pretty much we're gonna like undo everything we've been doing for the past 5 years and try to reset back to 2005. But at least it's a plan. It's a long term
Right.
goal. On WWE, it would have been WrestleMania where it's like, okay, we want to put this guy on top. Let's make him look as strong as he can before that match, before we put the belt on him. And now it's kind of like, well, you can kind of see it with Baron Corbin, where he's like, he's the anointed one. And I like Baron Corbin,
Mhm.
but he's still not the guy. And it goes back to that article title or video I've seen on YouTube where people are like, who is the top guy in WWE right now? And you said you're an AJ Styles, Mark. Me too. But
Sure.
he's not the top guy, but he should be.
He's he's third for merchandise, so I'll give him that.
Yeah,
You know,
but like,
number two is Roman, and then number one Cena, and Cena's not even around. So I mean,
well, that's it.
as far as SmackDown go, there's a legitimate case that could be made that he's their most valuable player and draw right now.
Yeah. But that's my concern. You have a series of guys, who are still, they're obviously going to be pushed top, and that's fine. But it's there's that still disconnect where no matter how much merch you sell, you're still going to be put in that slot. And even with Roman, he's the number two guy, but I talked about him last week, and he's more excited to see what will happen in the Amazon match with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is a much more interesting character uh, than Roman Reigns. There's
Which should not be the case.
no,
That there's no
should
way on
not.
earth that that should be true, but it is.
Yeah, and but that's it in a nutshell. The how could you fix WWE? Well, you can't really fix it because they don't even know what they want. There's no character. I think one of the biggest problems, Dave, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's no characters in WWE. There's like five, and one of them is, of course, Jinder Mahal, who is fantastic.
Right. Right. Yeah, and who made him look fantastic? Who had a match on Raw with him that finally got him noticed?
Sami
AJ
Zayn,
Styles.
AJ Styles, yes, sorry, but
Absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think it's another just a great example of a guy who's able to make other people look good. I watched that match, and I for years didn't even understand why Jinder Mahal had a contract. And I watched that match and I said, "Holy crap, this guy could be a champion." And a couple weeks later, here we are.
but that's uh, like one of the things. Like, it's not just him being in the ring. It's not just his talent, and he's a talented guy, and like, he has a great look. He's really got himself together now, and he carries himself like a champion. But they've packaged him in such a way that, yeah, okay, some of it's kind of stereotypical WWE, but it's done in a very very cool way. Pairing him up with the Bollywood boys, his whole entrance kind of thing. They've just brought back the Punjabi prison match for Battleground, which if not that
Oh
match,
no.
yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back.
Oh
It was.
no.
It's it's
Who in their right mind
well.
could possibly go into Punjabi match and think, yeah, there's a chance the Great Khali can climb out of here? Yeah, that's plausible.
Well,
Like who put that on paper?
I'll never forget when the Great Khali had his match and it was cancelled the last moment, and randomly it was like, I think it was Batista versus the Big Show for some reason at the Great American Bash a couple of
Yeah,
years ago.
something happened. Something happened.
But this match is going to be, I don't know if it's headlining the show, but it is going to be at SmackDown Live's Battleground on the 23rd of July. So, to quote Wrestle You here, nearly 10 years, the Punjabi prison match will be reintroduced as Jinder Mahal defends against Randy Orton. And the last time it was used was in 2007 when Batista defended the WWE World Heavyweight title against the Great Khali.
So ridiculous.
But like,
It's so ridiculous.
but
But
see,
I'm all for it though. I'm for wacky matches. I'm for crazy things like that. I mean, try it.
But see, it
Um,
works. I like it. I think it's a really cool kind of way to tie the two things together. And it fits in. Like they literally have this prefabricated way to work with guys who are Indian. And like it goes back to I think some of the mistakes. Some people are like, we need the Attitude Era back. It's like, no, you need a period when people have characters again. And think back to what made the Attitude Era great. Like one of my favorite wrestlers ever, just because of how weird it was Gangrel and the Brood. They were a bunch of
okay.
vampires, and they just throw blood on people, and it was weird and random. But they were still characters, and they're able to work it into their persona. So when they came out, like some people are still saying, "Oh, we have the coolest, who had the coolest entrances," and people still say the Brood. You know.
Man, that was a great entrance.
And even still, the team music is fantastic, and you can still jam to it. And look, they made Christian, they made Edge, they all kind of came up from that. So it's much better than having a roster full of guys who either all look the same or kind of behave the same. And that's kind of something that we've noticed with a decline with their merger from NXT to Raw or SmackDown, where even the guys who are very unique, like the Finn Balor's, aren't unique. Finn wore the paint, fair enough, but that only works because it's special, and it never
Right.
really, it hasn't captured that magic. I think even if Bobby Roode was to come up to the main roster, and he should be on the main roster. Bobby Roode is one of the best wrestlers in the world. But my concern is that they'll make the same mistake and he'll just kind of blend off into the background.
Wow, Bobby Roode, one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Oh, I love
I
Bobby
mean,
Roode.
I don't. Maybe I haven't watched enough of him. I don't know.
Well,
that sounds crazy. Sounds crazy.
Well, as far
I saw so many beer money matches that
oh
I
man,
didn't want to have to watch.
no,
I just don't see. I mean, he's got a great theme song, and that means a lot, which makes me think about, are there ever, because I realized it this week, like there's wrestlers that I've liked solely because of their theme song, and then their theme's done, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, now you have to actually wrestle and be on my TV.
well, yeah, that
I came to that realization with Maria when she made her big return. She
yeah.
came out, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, all right, you took your last, whatever, that's fine. I guess you guys you're a little older, but you still look good. Why don't I like you though? And then I looked up her old Titantron. I was like, oh my god! I used to put Legs Like That by Zebrahead on like mix CDs. Like that's how much I liked her theme song.
Wow.
And I
Well,
realized I just have no interest in her.
well,
And Zack Ryder was the same way.
yes,
I loved his theme song.
yes,
I have no interest in seeing Zack Ryder wrestle. Somebody's flipping me off right now for like either like, man, I love Maria or Ryder. I'm not sorry. It is what it is.
Well, look, as I said, team music is all tied up with the character thing, and if they nail the team music, well, that's going to get them over by itself. Like, actually, I would say one of the things that I hate about AJ Styles right now, it's like literally the only thing I hate is team music. I cannot stand that theme. I really don't like it. I love, like, WWE should have just bought his before they put the rapping into the TNA team, they should have just went with that one. That was fantastic. I thought that was good. It fit his character a lot more. It got me amped for his matches. And now I'm like, once his team's over, I can it's kind of like the opposite of what you had with Maria, where it's kind of like, oh, thank God his team's over. Now I can enjoy the match.
I can enjoy him wrestle. Yeah, that's how I feel about Naomi.
Really?
That theme music. Oh my God. I'll just be walking around the house. I'll be like, oh, my God. Can't get amazing out of my head. It's stupidest theme. Now she's got to do like this big dance to it, so it goes on. They play it longer, as if it wasn't in my head enough. It's torture.
I don't know. I don't think there's any really good themes right now in the, like, that have that kind of catchiness, because it's all they went through the period there where they'd license music. Sorry, go on.
Sammy's is good.
Sammy's is good, but I see. I don't think Sammy's team fits Sammy at all. Because it's weird ska kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, if
And he's like an Islamic Canadian.
yeah,
It's very bizarre.
it's very bizarre. Like if they gave him like one of those weird hats, like the hats that all the ska kids used to wear, and like he came out with a trumpet, that would fit. It's like cool. Okay, you're a ska kid. That would make sense. But just I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. Like Kevin Owens' team is awesome. It does kind of have that kind of like it fits him
Pitch,
perfectly.
like, yeah. I
Um,
think see, I like AJ's. I think you gotta put AJ's in context of what they thought he was going to be when they brought him in
oh,
to
go on.
what he turned into.
Okay.
And I think it fit where they were going with him originally. And then they're like, oh crap, like we actually have to give the title to this guy. People really seem to like him in the crowd. Like, what?
Yeah,
All right, I guess is this his theme? All right, cool. Let's go with it.
but
And I mean, it's created a ton of memes. I mean, what else can you get out of a theme unless like Fandango's and you're gonna hit the charts with it? I mean, that's not gonna happen. But with AJ's, I mean, there's memes. You talk about AJ, people are just like, you don't want some, nope. Like it's. I think it's not bad for his character necessarily. It
right.
gets buzz, and most theme songs don't get any buzz. No one's going out there and being like, "Man, I'm so happy Carmella came out, so I could hear this weird bass notes come out of my TV with no treble." Like, I don't get it.
But like, it's one of the things that, if there's anything like I could take back from a couple of years ago, it would be their team. Even when WWE was awful, like actively bad, the teams are still quite good because they were licensing music. But now it's just kind of like,
It's
you know, when TNA
weird. All goes through what's the CFO
yeah, CFO,
does most
yeah.
of their themes now. Yeah.
Like sometimes they nail it. Like Finn Balor's team is legit
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, and I like Seth Rollins'
Shinsuke's
team.
is great. Glorious
Yes.
is great for Bobby Roode.
So I suppose not every team's gonna be fantastic. Oh, one of the worst teams in the world, and it needs to change. Dean Ambrose's team, I can't stand it anymore. It's just so lame.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know, man. Dean Ambrose is one of those guys who, when I think the book is written, if he keeps going on the way he's going, he's just you know he's gonna be a guy doing things because he's just not interesting at all.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, you were saying is
Well, and he's so willing to take crazy bumps. He's so willing. Whether or not he likes them is a different issue. He doesn't like them. He's made that abundantly clear. But like you said, he's willing to do it.
but see like
It's that kind of pigeonholes him.
but see the bump things. Like some people say, well, that's what got Mick Foley over. No, it's not really.
No.
If you look back on Mick's career, he was incredibly popular. After he started taking the bumps, his character got him over. His likability and the comedy, goofy stuff got him over. I don't know, like as much as I like, a good hardcore match or whatever, these are guys at the end of the day, and you're doing it night after night. They're not going to be around very much longer. Their career's going to be cut short. Like look at Daniel Bryan, for example. Although we will talk about Daniel Bryan in a few minutes, because yeah, he is a crazy man if he's planning to do what he's actually planning to do
With
or
the
reportedly
buzz.
planning to do.
I want to get back before we do. I want to get back because I lost track of this when we were talking about gender because I think we left out. We were getting into that. Let's look at this from a storyline, like an
Sure.
angle stance, and I think we also need to take a step back and realize, WWE is expanding into India.
Yeah.
There's there's legitimate business reasons why this is happening, and I think maybe that goes into the NXT thing, like we were talking about earlier. It's sometimes they're making decisions that aren't. Wrestling's gone from being about matches and getting people to come out to uh, the carnival so you can see a match, or go to Madison Square Garden because these guys are going to be tangled up. That's not what it's about anymore. It's about how much can we get for our TV contracts? Can we expand into other countries? What kind of ad revenue? Do we add a third hour to Raw? Well, it's going to make the product worse. We can't write that much TV each week. Yeah, but we're going to make an extra $600,000 or whatever it is. Like, it's wrestling's not about sports and even sports entertainment. It's not about what we think sports entertainment is about anymore. It's evolved into this very corporate, conglomerate of it's best for business.
That's true.
And I
That's
think
very
people
true.
thought, oh, it's best for business. That means the people I want to see are going to be the guys that are winning championships. No, no, they literally mean it's best for the stock price.
Even that, if they brought that in to to the main product, they could have it as and I know they tried to do it with the authority, and it failed epically. But there is that disconnect where wrestling has gone from an American centric viewpoint to expanding out to a global viewpoint. And even on NXT, and 205 Live and the Cruiserweight Classic last year, look at the talent that they brought in. They had a lot of guys from England. They certainly had the UK Championship as a tournament as well, and then a couple of guys from China. It is changing, but it's not. It's like, again, this is WWE's problem, where one hand won't talk to the other, isn't watching what the other one is doing. I think you're right, though. I do think you're really onto something.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's the WWE's fault. I think they truly believe they're putting out the best product that they are, and it would be a disservice to the majority of the roster who really are going out and they're trying to put on great matches and they're trying to tell great stories, and certainly can't attack WWE for their production value. It's phenomenal. As somebody who doesn't watch weekly but just watches the pay-per-views, I still know what the storylines are because they got really, really good people
Yeah.
in the production truck. But you can only go so far with that. And there's this thing called the internet now that's become, we've gone from the internet of the 90s and even up through the mid 2000s, where if you wanted to download an 100 megabyte file, you were going to be sitting on your computer forever.
True.
Now you can download a 3 gigabyte show off of PWG's website or whoever they sell through, and you can watch a pay per view. You can watch a whole DVD. And there's so much wrestling out there that's different from WWE that I think that's kind of what's hurting them. Is there's people are just gravitating towards their own little niches that they like. You can go online, you can do a Google search for any bizarre interest that pops into your head, and you're probably going to find a dozen different people who wrote a blog about it.
Well,
And so
that's
by
true.
being able to get with those people and find your little groups and your niches, I think that's what's kind of taken people away from the WWE, because we don't live in a culture where you sit down on a Monday night at 8 o'clock and you watch a show for 3 hours. People watch a YouTube clip the next day from their favorite YouTuber who reviews the show in 5 minutes, and
Mm.
that's their sole exposure to WWE.
But
It's just very, very different than even when I was involved.
even if you look at it, that's actually a very very good point. You put it better than I could. Even if you look at like things like movies or TV shows or whatever, like how many people don't watch TV anymore? Like, period. A lot.
Yeah.
Cable, Sky over here, they're all
Mhm.
trying to compete with the internet. Even the Irish government, they've brought in a law now where we have a thing called the TV license, which
Okay.
it's the same thing as they have in England, where the TV license everyone has to pay. It's like 100 and something euros, and you need to pay that every year. And it funds our national broadcaster. In the UK, their one funds the
Okay. I
BBC.
see.
Same thing. But they've extended that out now to, if you don't have a TV in your house, that doesn't matter. If you have a laptop or a screen over 12 inches, that also applies for it. So you can see how a lot of these yeah, it's
I'm
unbelievable.
just imagining Irish cops coming in with a ruler and they're like, "Sorry, buddy, your screen's 13 inches."
Dave, that happens.
I
Ireland is
don't
a
doubt
strange place for anybody that doesn't live here. They get, it's amazing that happens. You get the knock at the door. There's literally an inspector, and he probably does measure. I don't know. I pay my TV license, but some people
God
don't.
bless
And
America.
yeah, man,
Good
America's
Lord.
great. It's the little things really kind of, you're just like, yeah, like there's one guy and he comes in and we'll check this. They run ads and everything on the TV where you're like, oh, pay your TV license, and if you don't, they will go and you know take your computer away or something. But yeah, it's
Aren't the
crazy.
YouTube ads that I have to sit through enough? And I swear, the more YouTube that I watch, like when I started watching, because I just recently, maybe in the past 3 months, have gone from watching YouTube on my computer to going to watch YouTube on my Xbox One.
Right.
And it's a totally different kind of viewing experience because of the way you can search and navigate. It's just, it's different. So I find myself watching more of one channel and stuff more. And I just think that the more I've watched it, the longer the ads have gotten. When
That's
I
true.
started, I was getting like, oh, this one's 15 seconds, but you can skip forward after 5. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then the past month, it's been this one's 30 seconds, and this is the worst part because it'll be an advertisement for themselves. But you can pay for YouTube Red or whatever it is, and you won't get any ads. It's like you're stopping a video I'm watching to play an ad about me buying something so I don't see an ad. Like, how did this happen?
I tell you what is crazy though, right? I watch a lot of YouTube on my phone when I'm out and about as well, and the ads play obviously. But what you can do is I use when I'm using Wi-Fi, on, different Wi-Fi's around, open Wi-Fi's. Obviously, I use a VPN,
Hmm.
a blocker, so not, my phone can't be hacked or whatever. And I changed my IP around, so I'm very fond of using the Netherlands. What's crazy is like you can use Netherlands and Canada and stuff like that, but it
I have a good
depends.
friend in the Netherlands.
The which?
I know. I was just saying, I have a good friend in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's a good place.
But what's crazy is when you change that over, you can get ads. Like the ads you get are not UK and Irish ads; they're for ads from the Netherlands or they're
Yeah,
ads from Canada,
that's funny.
and it's hilarious because you just sit like the first time it happens, you're like, "Oh, why is he speaking Dutch?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, because YouTube thinks I'm in the Netherlands."
So they think I'm from.
Yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
crazy. But what's cool like
I,
when
I
you
got a local ad today, this morning, for like a car dealership that's like a mile from my house.
oh
I
man,
was like, this is too much. This is too creepy. Like, I know that you know where I am, but do you have to throw it in my face that you know where I am? Really?
the ads in Ireland, you wouldn't really get them that local, but you would get like AIB ads, which is a main bank here, and they just show like one screen over and over again of the same place in Dublin. You're like, okay, so they obviously know where I am, but it's not as creepy as something like that. Because Irish people, it's weird. Like even though Ireland is like a tech hub, it's also not. So you'll have like big companies here, name any of them, and they're in Dublin. But then on the other hand, like local businesses won't have a website, or they won't pay
Uh,
for ads on YouTube or something. So it's
Yelp's
crazy.
not big in Ireland.
No, actually, well, Yelp exists, but I think it's more from Americans and Canadians to come over here and rate things rather than
Yeah.
Irish people, because we're like Irish people already know where everything is, so they're not gonna be like, you know, why would you need to use the internet for that? It's totally different. But
I can't get anywhere without the internet. I have no sense of direction. If I didn't have a GPS in my pocket, like, how on earth did we go from New York City to Los Angeles? How did that happen? How did somebody follow stars to get there? Because that is so beyond my sense of reality that I can't even imagine it.
yeah, like when the internet goes down for a while, you're like, well, what do I do now? It is that kind of.
Oh my gosh. It went to not last night, the night before, 1 a.m. I lost all my Wi-Fi. I was upset too because I was playing on my Xbox. I was playing a game and I checked on my phone. They're like scheduled maintenance till 6 a.m. I'm like, what am
Oh
I
man.
gonna do? What? It's 2 o'clock in the 1 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to watch some YouTube and go to bed or something.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, I have a computer and several hard drives full of tons of stuff that I could watch. But just that loss.
it's that first
Weird how things become like that in life.
it's
It's
that fu-
weird, man.
it's that first world kind of thing where you're like, I have nothing to play, I have
Yes,
nothing to watch, and you're
yes.
like, you have a stack. Like I have a shelf full of Xbox games, which I don't know. I'm big into retro gaming as well, so I have, an Xbox like literally full with games. Like, well, yeah, but I can't watch this specific YouTube channel. You just sit there going,
Oh, yeah.
so
You
entitled.
must be excited then, though, if you're in the retro game with the Xbox, with Xbox announcing that they're introducing backwards compatibility, not just for the 360, which we've had for a while now, but now for the original Xbox.
Oh yeah, man, that's really cool. Like I do think one of the biggest missteps that Microsoft made was removing backwards compatibility. Like I have an Xbox that I use as a I have Windows 95 on it, and I use it as a Linux server. It's amazing what the original Xbox, the actual inside of it, can do. It's a phenomenal piece of technology. So I still use mine regularly, but running on the Xbox One, it obviously they're going to increase the graphics or whatever. It's going to be pretty cool. But that's something they should have done initially, and I don't understand why they didn't.
Right.
Because like I remember even as a kid, when the PlayStation 2 came out, it was like, oh great, you can play the PlayStation 1 again. I don't know at what point
Yep.
the suits were like, huh, yes, no one's going to want to play their old games again. And you're like, that's not how it works, And
Yeah.
I haven't got an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 for a load of reasons. But main one being, I still play the 360, I still play the PS3, and I want that backwards compatibility. So for me, it is a huge thing.
You're welcome, wrestling fans.
Well, wrestling and gaming, it is what it is. But okay, speaking of which, is WWE still worth watching every week?
That's worth watching every week. It's hard to say.
Well,
I mean, I don't. It'd almost be hypocritical for me to answer
well,
since I
look,
don't.
well,
But
look.
what I need is to be convinced that it is.
Yes, well, look, I can't do that because I don't believe it is, and I would say the best way to watch wrestling, and the way I watch wrestling, I don't have time or the will to watch 3 hours of Raw. No way. That's in certain countries I believe that would be some sort of punishment or torture. So I don't. I would watch it. Either I would fast forward through it if I'm not watching it live, or if I do watch it live, I'm usually playing a game or something and it's off to the side, so it's more like background
Yeah.
noise.
Try recapping that
Yeah,
stupid
no
show.
way. Man, I'm not surprised you took a 4 year break because if I had to recap Raw every week, I would have been burned out quicker, and it's just it just was no way.
Everybody in the world was excited. Raw's gonna be 3 hours. This is going to be amazing.
No,
The
it was not.
second that announcement I made, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
For the record, myself and Adam were two people saying this is going to end really badly. We've been here before. This is what happened with WCW, and sure enough, we're in the exact same position that we were. But listen, the best way to watch Raw is to either have it on as background noise or to record it and then skip through it, or you can actually watch it
Yeah,
on Hulu and they do edit it down,
IDVR.
or DVR exactly. SmackDown on the other hand, SmackDown's a different story. Some weeks,
Yes.
some weeks it's awful, but it's consistent. Like you're gonna have some pretty good matches, and there's guys there who you actually care about. Like Jinder Mahal's there, and you can see how, like, for example, he would never get over in Raw. That whole character wouldn't be given enough time to be able to breathe and progress.
Right. Right.
But on SmackDown, it is, and even the Carmella stuff, with the women's Money in the Bank, all that stuff, it reeks of SmackDown and the creativity there. So I would say, you can actually watch SmackDown every week or every 2 weeks and enjoy it. So I would say, is WWE worth watching every week? No. Caveat: SmackDown is, and sometimes NXT if something interesting is happening. But listen, like the best.
Wasn't that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, but like the best. What you say is you're watching it monthly for the pay-per-views. You can actually do that. You can watch it you can watch the pay-per-views and just kind of read the recaps or see the WWE specials beforehand, and that's enough. Because it's ironic as well, man.
No, it is.
It's ironic, right? Because a couple of years ago, you had to watch all the shows. You had to know what's going on. And now, in an era where there's, conservatively 9 hours of fresh product every week, you don't have to watch any
Yeah.
of it. That's hilarious, man.
Well, and it goes. Doesn't this just go right back to the brand split? We came pre-brand split. We were in a world where, all right, there is 5 hours of Raw and SmackDown combined photos. There's 5 hours of wrestling that you can watch each week, but really, you just gotta watch Raw and kind of tune in at 9 o'clock and kind of tune in at 10, and then maybe 10:50 if you're like super interested. SmackDown, there might be some good matches, but it's mostly just recapping Raw. So you were in this environment where you didn't really have to watch that much wrestling from the WWE to be fully invested in it, to now with split brands, not just the fact that there's 2 pay-per-views a month, but that's 5 hours of wrestling storyline wise that you have to try and keep track of. And it's too much. Who has time for that?
Nobody.
Like, people have hobbies. Like, who you know, when you get home from, you gotta balance things in your life, and it's just a lot of. I'm looking at the picture of that Punjabi prison structure that's up on the screen now, and that's crazy.
I don't know. I'm cautiously excited about it because it's gonna be terrible. But it can't be worse than the Big Show versus Batista. That was oh, that was shockingly bad. Um,
No, shockingly bad was Abdullah the Butcher being shocked inside of a steel cage.
oh well.
That was another level.
Remember the electrified steel cage match on TNA?
Oh my gosh, I do remember that.
Yeah,
That was the fakest looking crap I've ever seen.
where all the lights went
I
out.
listen, I have some horses that live next to me. You know, they have an electric fence or whatever, and I've seen them bump into it once, and horses are smart, they don't do it twice. I've never seen all this smoke and pyro shoot out when they hit it. I'm not sure how that happens. Like, I'm all for suspending my disbelief, but like, I am human. I do have some logic. Like, this doesn't make sense.
It's wrestling, man. You got to
It is
you,
wrestling.
you got to kind of turn that off sometimes. But in the history of TNA and Impact Wrestling, they've really pushed that out. It's like, okay, I
I
can.
don't know. But isn't this supposed to be the reality era? Isn't that what they tried to brand it? This is the reality era of wrestling where things are so real that Bray Wyatt turns the ring into a projector screen for some reason.
It's so
Like,
real, it's
where
fake.
there's a disconnect.
Yeah,
They just don't seem to know what they don't have a single goal in
right.
mind. You know, they have maybe their marquee matchup that they're working on, but there's just maybe there's too many hands in the pot because you've got separate writing teams that are even more separate now than they were before because they really are their own brands and they're coming at you with different things, and it's just,
Well,
I
look.
don't know. I just think there's so much wrestling out there that's better
Well, you know what?
right now.
Well, just to kind of before we get into talking about Impact Wrestling, you know what it's like at the moment. There's loads
Which,
of
by the way,
sorry.
is not the better wrestling that I was mentioning.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
For,
But
for
but
the record.
but it is the wrestling that has a pay per view, so we do have to talk about it. What I will say, it's like, okay, Marvel started the cinematic universe kind of thing for the mainstream, right? And everyone's trying to replicate that and make it their own, and they're failing epically. The Mummy and Universal's Dark Universe is example of that. Why does Marvel work? Why does that concept? I think about it, right? So many shows, all that kind of stuff, and movies all linked in together.
Mhm.
Why does that work? Because there's one guy who's like, okay, that's included, that works. Here's our end goal. Compared to what's happening in the rest of the place, where it's like, let's just throw crap at the wall and hopefully something sticks. And that's the difference. You need,
No, I mean, yeah, it has to. I mean, look at. I mean, it's Disney.
yeah, exactly,
Disney doesn't. They don't do their things halfway.
yeah,
If they put their stamp on it, they want it to be good.
exactly.
It's not always going to be a success, but you look at the number of animated Disney movies that there have been, the main ones, not those sequels that go straight to DVD.
Mm.
Like, you look at it, I mean, there was home run after home run.
Yeah, and that's the difference. And I think wrestling needs that because it doesn't have it. Impact Wrestling, their product has gotten so much better. I know that's not saying much because it was nigh unwatchable for a very long time. But it's gotten a lot better, man. And it's looking at this card, which we're going to talk about. It's it's much more watchable and it's much more like the old TNA was before the wheels fell off and everything got set on fire, and then the electrified steel cage bought in and reverse battle royals and all that fun stuff, which we actually lived through and remained wrestling fans. Um, but real quick, what do you think of the news that Global Force Wrestling is now bought by Impact
Sorry.
Wrestling? It's okay.
I just, I didn't know Alberto Del Rio was in TNA. I just went up to look for
Oh man, yeah.
thing
Oh,
for this pay-per-view.
you're going to
What
enjoy
is
this.
going on in this world?
You're going to enjoy this. But before we get into that, and there is background, okay? So not only is Alberto Del Rio or Alberto El Patron the in the company, but he is the Global Force Wrestling champion. Okay.
How many companies has that guy screwed over in the past 2 years?
Well,
He gets
okay.
fired from WWE, not his fault. No, I mean it was his fault. I didn't mean that. I meant that's separate from this. And he didn't screw WWE over, but he goes to AAA, screws them over, won't drop the belt. Then goes to the Lucha Underground, screws them over, just disappears. Like goes back to WWE, walks out again. Whatever happened? Like how? What is going on with this dude? I just read something he wants to retire in 3 years. Like what? What? I don't get it.
Well, I have no idea. But like this whole show is you know what this show is like, Dave? Remember the Invasion pay-per-view from 2001?
Yes.
Actually, no. Sorry, it's like that, but it's also
I don't remember the year, but I do remember the Invasion pay-per-view.
it's also the Survivor Series where they had all the unification matches,
Mm.
and that's what they're kind of doing here. Now, these were all made before the announcement that we're going to talk about now, where Anthem, on Wednesday, they issued the announcement that Global Force Wrestling is now owned by TNA, owned by Impact Wrestling. So they're one company now.
Impact owns Global, not Global owns Impact.
Impact is owned by Anthem Sports.
Okay.
And they actually bought Global Force Wrestling.
I see.
So, but the thing about it is, Slammiversary here, which is this Sunday, and it's from the new Impact Zone in Orlando. All the matches were unification matches. So, you know, the GFW title is on the line, the GF Women's Championship is on the line, and the GF Tag Team Championship is on the line as well. Now, throughout the whole build-up of this, it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Why is Global Force Wrestling so involved here? And it's, well, because we know why, because they bought them.
Right.
So obviously this was in the works for some time. But
No, they're not going to turn into TNA. We're not doing back to TNA. This is something totally different. I'm Jeff Jarrett. Why would I make things up?
Well, you know, it was revealed that Jeff Jarrett actually is one of the head honchos in TNA now, in Impact Wrestling. And it's so hard not to call it TNA because it is. But it's yeah, so it's pretty much going back to being the TNA that we all know and love from 2005. And this,
Gee, maybe they should have listened to Vince Russo and he was like, yeah, TNA, maybe that's not a good name for this company.
yeah, well,
Kind of has other connotations, guys. They're like, oh yeah, then you have issues with Walmart wouldn't sell their DVDs when they were, first coming out before people knew who it was, that they were like an actual wrestling company and not some softcore porn or a wrestling company. Like, I don't understand things. I really don't.
It is hilarious. It's like classic Impact Wrestling, where it's like their PR, you know, in the UK was always good, but in the States, always an absolute train wreck. But you know, they've cleared that up now, and a lot of these announcements, you know, say what you want about them, but they're at least their PR is on point. You know, they are getting these press releases out. And yes, I saw on the Train Adam Facebook page that you know, people are like, it's a non-story, and yeah, it kind of is a non-story, but it at least makes the pay-per-view make some sort of sense now, because it's like, you know, up until this point it was ridiculous. Okay, so
it says Jeff Jarrett's gonna be on the board of managers, is an equity owner, and the chief creative officer. Yes. We really have gone back in time.
We have gone back in time. It's, although, look, man, I always loved TNA from that time period, so I'm really, really happy. But it's funny that it took them 10 years of, you know, clinging on to life and just falling into the void to claw back out of that void and be like, yes, we've made it back to where we were in 2005.
yeah. Like, look at our ratings, they're up. Yeah, have they been there before? Well, kind of.
Just a train wreck. But look, there's a couple of matches here, and we'll quickly run through them. So the main event is Lashley with King Mo versus Alberto El Patron with Don Carras, and that's a unification match for both World Championships. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Lashley wanted your president Donald Trump to be in his corner mimicking the angle from WrestleMania a couple of years ago, which is ridiculous. It's like, dude, he's the president. That's just not going to happen. But
Yeah, he's also Vince McMahon's friend.
exactly.
Like, why on earth would you don't think the first thing he would have done? Because first of all, on behalf of my entire country, I hope that Donald Trump doesn't know that there's a difference between WWE and TNA. I hope that he doesn't even have any clue about the fact that TNA is a company that exists or whatever. Because if so, then we're screwed. That was a crazy angle. There's a great picture because Linda McMahon obviously is the small business administrator
Yes.
under Trump, and there's an amazing picture of the entire McMahon clan there. Shane, Stephanie, Linda, their kids, and one of the daughters. They're at the presidential desk with Trump, and one of the daughters is holding a photo. And if you zoom in on the picture, the photo is of Donald Trump shaving Vince McMahon's head at WrestleMania. It's just a piece of gold.
Oh man.
If we don't get a pay-per-view from like the Rose Garden or something in the White House, I'm going to be furious.
You know what they should do? They should actually do capital carnage or capital punishment or whatever. They should do it now and have Donald Trump show up as the MC. That'd be class.
He'd probably do it.
He would do it
if they were close.
It'd be awesome.
And Vince called him up, he'd probably be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" He's like, "Mate, there's a place I might get cheered. I'm there."
Oh man,
Do
I'd pay to see that. They should book it. That'd be great. But him going to TNA, no, that's ridiculous. Or Impact,
I would never do. It's absurd.
It's crazy. But yeah, obviously Lashley's probably gonna win. That would be my guess, specifically with the Global Force Wrestling buyout kind of thing. I don't think anyone who is a champion for that company will win, and Global Force Wrestling will be finished after this show. But you know who came back, and I love this man. Scott Steiner is back.
Scott Steiner's still alive. Awesome. Sorry, that's my first reaction. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How?
How's he still?
Does Petey Williams with him? Because if there's no Petey Williams, I'm not interested.
Sadly, no. But Josh Matthews is with
No.
him. So it's Jeremy Borash.
I'm a closet Josh Matthews fan. I'm not even closet on. I've always been open for that for years. I don't get the hate on him.
Either do I.
I really don't.
I don't understand it. Jeremy Borash and Joseph Park, who's Abyss, is going against Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner in a tag team match.
Well, I take back everything I just said about the. I mean, okay.
See, they
This
have
is fantastic. I feel like my eyes are closed. I was walking into like a room. It's just like, this is happening. This is happening. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that sounds like the right track. What?
Well, look, it's been a Josh Matthews, Jeremy Borash feud for a couple of months, and like 2 weeks ago, Scott Steiner showed up to be, Josh Matthews' partner. So I don't know, it's gonna be more of a story than anything. But look, man, all I know is Scott Steiner's back, and anytime I just hope they give him like a 15-minute promo, because
Just give him a mic.
Exactly, a live mic, and it'd be amazing.
Absolutely a live mic.
Don't cut any of it.
He could do math.
Eden Carter III is going against James Storm in a strap match. Yeah.
Oh, I have to say this.
Go for it.
There is no way that Josh Matthews versus Jeremy Borash can have a successful feud if Jerry the King Lawler and Michael Cole couldn't even have a successful feud together. Like, who thinks that the auxiliary characters that are supposed to be kind of those voices in your head that you don't pay all that much attention to, they just narrate you through the experience and highlight what's happening in the ring? I hate when the focus gets put back to them. I really do.
I agree, Dave. But the thing here is, Scott Steiner is there, and he'll
Right,
make it work.
No, I'm with you.
He'll
I'm
make
gonna
it
watch
work.
it simply for Scott Steiner. I don't know about this $39.99 to watch it on TNA.com. They need to get their crap together.
Yeah, that's
Let's be more realistic, guys.
That's a bit steep. That's a bit steep. But I think that'll be fun. I don't think the strap match will be fun because they never are. I really don't like strap matches.
Never.
They're always bad.
Mm-mm.
Rose,
I don't like straps. I don't like chains.
Yeah,
I saw what I see one time in TNA. I was at the show. I think it might have been Victory Road one year or whatever it was in my area, and it was Jay Lethal versus Sanjay Dutt in a tuxedo. like they were chained together match, and they
It's
like
awful.
you had to undress your person like they used to do with the females. You like get the tux off them before you could pin them. And it was just the stupidest thing in the world. There actually chance of fire Russo in the crowd while it was occurring. That's how abysmal that match was. I'd never understood strap match. I don't like the JBL bell cow matches. Then just all that stuff is just
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh my
somebody's
god.
got to like it. Like who is that person? I don't know,
I will have,
but somebody else.
I will say though, it wasn't as bad as the blindfold match from a couple of years ago.
Or the arm tied behind the back.
Yeah.
I hate those kind of
I
matches.
think James Storm was in that too, actually, wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't
America's
know.
Most Wanted. Yeah, he
Mm,
was.
I'm thinking of there was an Alicia Fogg match where I think she was had one hand tied behind her back. She's like, this is terrible.
You know, it's just a sign of bad product when that happens. But moving swiftly on, Rosemary versus Sienna for the knockouts and the women's championship match. So that'd be decent. Both those girls are really good. A Full Metal Mayhem match, which I am looking forward to seeing. Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards versus Davey Richards and and Angelina Love. That'd be a good match.
Wow, good for Angelina Love. She's still at it.
Yep, she's still at
Man,
it. Uh,
wow. She
and
didn't even marry like a famous wrestler
no,
like
just keep
that has a
going.
lot of money like Velvet so that she could actually, retire one day. That's crazy. Good for her.
And Sanjay Dutt versus Loki, a 203 Falls match for the Impact X Division Championship, which will probably be one of the matches tonight, I'd say.
Man, I just low key. I don't know about him. He just left such a bad taste in my mouth when he left the WWE.
It was for such a horrible
Maybe
reason
he
as
was
well.
too honest about it, but I mean, I guess I respect him for it. But at the same time, I was just like, really, man? They had you win NXT. They gave you a championship pay-per-view match. Do you know how many people dream of that? And then the whole thing's like, well, it doesn't really fit my style, and I want to do my own thing. It's like, all right,
So
no, okay.
he deserves what
But
happened.
like, don't act like you're not being given opportunities. Don't act like you're not being featured. Like that's absurdity.
But look, you know, the card is gonna be okay. It'll probably be a decent show. I don't think it's worth $40, but hey, man, I'm gonna watch it. So next week, obviously, I'll be reviewing it, and you guys can check it out there. But Dave, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's been an awful lot of fun.
It's been so nice to catch up with you.
Definitely, we need to do it more often. You're more than welcome on the show anytime, man. It's
Yeah, I shied away for so long. 99% of the reason being that my old audio equipment that I have for my computer and everything has just been packed away in my college stuff. But I gotta compliments to Microsoft because Skype is running fantastically on the Xbox One. So
yeah, I did.
absolutely. Cheap plug. You can follow me on Twitter at the Dave Stevens. And that's it really.
Cool, man. You know, and it's do follow Dave. You know, it's a shame that you had to kind of take the break for a while that you did, but at least you get the fresh perspective. You know, it's the I would say anyone who is upset about wrestling or annoyed about it, stop watching for a while and then kind of come back. You know, even in 6 months will give you a new perspective on things and really help you out to just kind of get all that
And
negativity out.
I wouldn't even say stop watching. I would say go out there and explore. There's Lucha Underground.
True.
There's AAA. There's New Japan. There's PWG. There's CZW. You can find something that you will enjoy. If you're dissatisfied with storylines and WWE crap, go out there. Go on the internet. Find something. It exists. We have one life. Enjoy it. Find something. Don't just watch. Don't be a slave to your TV because this is when Raw comes on, and this is the only big company in the world, so I have to follow them. Branch out. Don't be afraid.
I agree. You know, that's, you know, even if TNA isn't the thing for you as well, you know, there's more wrestling out there than ever. So there's no reason to be upset about it. Just reset, refocus, and explore different things. But guys, do follow Dave. Of course, you can contact us here, WViDesk 2016. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week here on the Rest of You International Desk.